everyone, Therese here. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. So energetically speaking, it is an interesting week because we have our first lunation of 2024, and it is the new moon in Capricorn. Now, the reason I find this interesting is because we're starting with this new moon in Capricorn, and we're going to end the year with a new moon in Capricorn. So this theme is going to be something that we start with and revisit throughout 2024. And the themes are around this organization of having a plan to succeed. And why I find it interesting is because the year 2024 is a universal 8 year, and 8 is about karma, it's about success, it's about materializing what it is that you've been working on. It's about the return of your energy. So whatever you're putting out there is coming back to you. And this is the year where the work you put in will definitely yield results for you. And so we're starting with a work moon. If you think about it, Capricorn is the sign of work. It's ruled by Saturn, which is also about work. So at 8, Capricorn and Saturn, these all go together. Their themes are very similar. Capricorns are the manifestors of the zodiac. They're the ones who know how to get it done, to get what they want. And we're getting lent so much Capricorn energy right now that it is such an important time to really hone in and focus on what it is you want, and specifically, what are your long-term goals? What is something that you see for yourself in the future that you want to achieve? If you haven't been thinking about it, it is the perfect time to think about it. This is the moment because the energy is naturally there. So with all this cosmic influx, we're getting this feeling of, I want to get down to work. I want to get into the strategy. I want to get into my plan, and I want to see myself implement it and follow through. That's that energy that we're getting. Currently got a stellium happening in the sign of Capricorn. We've got Pluto there, which is about empowerment. We've got Mars there, which is about taking action. The sun is there, which is all about how you're projecting this energy. And then the moon is there, which is putting us in that same emotional state. And on Saturday, Mercury will be joining us there, which is all about how we're thinking about it. So as you can see, we're really in this sort of like beast work mode kind of energy where it feels easier to tap into what is it you want and how am I going to go about getting it. So I say lean into it. If you've already written down your goals for 2024, review them now and come up with your plans about how you're going to make this happen. You can see it by reverse engineering those plans, or you can take it a day at a time. Like, what will I do today to create some traction towards my goal? Now, if you're excited about utilizing this energy, but you feel confused or unsure of where to start, or you don't know how to create goals that are really in alignment with your soul's energy and feel strong and easy to accomplish for you, I encourage you to check out the Epic Year Workshop Express program, which is my Epic Year Workshop program, recorded and condensed so that you can work with it in your own time. A lot of people can't always attend a live workshop, especially in the middle of the week, which is why I created the Express version. It's a self-study program that you can do in your own time, but I'm going to walk you through how to develop a goal that is truly in alignment with your own energy and how to develop a strategy about how to reach that goal, as well as support you all year long. So if that sounds like something good to you, the link is in the description below. And of course, there's also a new moon spirit circle happening. That's happening on Thursday, November 11th. And that's where we're really going to get into the meat and potatoes of this Capricorn new moon. Get in there and talk about the goals that you're setting and the plan that you have to implement them, because that's the message at this time, is really working in higher efficiency, and the team wants me to tell you all about that. By the way, if you want to, there's still time to join the New Moon Spirit Circle. Here's the link. It's also in the description below. But before I get into the message from the team, I just want to talk about the other energy that's happening right now, because it's actually been an interesting period of time. We had a lot of explosive energy to start the new year, with a lot of sun energy going on. We were feeling it in the KP index all the way up until January 2nd, and now it's been kind of quieter. So atmospherically a little quieter, But now the Schumann is showing off about how that atmospheric energy has been absorbed by the planet and being redistributed out. So we've got spikes in our Schumann. It's going, it was blacking out, which usually means timeline jumping. Then we've got the spikes going on, and it's really lighting up right now. So the Schumann today is January 10th, and the Schumann is at 52 hertz. So we've got quite a bit of jumping going on right now, which means we're feeling that elevated energy coursing through us, and that just again reinvigorates us to want to commit to what we're trying to create. So this week the team is asking me to talk to you about leaning into all of this preparatory energy, and that's a great way to look at how Capricorn approaches their goals. It's preparation to get what you want. So the first question that the team asks is, what is it that you see yourself achieving in a long-term way? If you were to look at your life, not just at the end of this year, but what about in 5 years? Where do you want to be? Right? So we're thinking in those broader terms about what it is we're trying to achieve. Now you might see a lot on your plate, and if that's the case, you could find yourself in overwhelm. So narrow it down to something. Pick one thing that you see happening for yourself in the long term. Maybe it's getting a certain kind of job, or moving into a certain type of home, or moving to a new country, or in getting into a new relationship, or advancing the relationship that you're currently in. What is that long-term vision you're holding for yourself? And what I'd like to hear from you is, are you the kind of person who gets overwhelmed by the idea of having a plan or strategy? If so, comment below. Just let me know. You could put yes if you do. If not, if you're like, no, I love the strategy part, I always have a plan about how I'm going to make things happen, put it below and let me know. I used to be a person who'd get very overwhelmed by a sense of strategizing or planning. I tend to be very right hemisphered. I'm a left-handed person, right hemisphere, so that's the creative side. And the creative side of our brain, it's open to all of the esoteric information. It's highly spiritual. It helps you connect with the non-physical really well, but it's also very disorganized and chaotic, right? Like there's not a lot of structure there. That all lives in the other hemisphere of the brain. And for those who are more analytical, structure and planning are easy peasy for you. But for those who tend to be more on the creative, I wanted to say like non-structured, more organic side, right? I would put geometry as an example. If I were looking at this just purely in shapes, I would see geometry and structure over here, and I would see organic blobs over in the right hemisphere. For those of us who have strong, dominant right hemispheres, it can feel very intimidating or overwhelming to think about how to break something big and abstract that's easy for you to see down into a step-by-step plan, which might not be something that's so easy to see. And so my team just wants you to simplify. Utilize the energy that's happening right now. You don't have to learn how to think in a completely different way. You just simply have to think. You want to think about it in a very intentional way, so that you're always having like, here's the thing I see myself long-term achieving, and here are 3 things that I'm going to do for myself today that feel like they move me closer to that long-term goal. So we have to get really clear. Now, a lot of times people try to go into their mind to create a strategy, right? You pull out all the notebooks, you read the books. See? You go get a bunch of books, Atomic Habits. I love this book. I've been talking to people in the Epic Year Workshop about it. It's a great book. Definitely one to read if you're trying to establish new habits, like being better at planning and strategizing. This book's definitely going to help you. So we often try to accumulate more information, which actually can create overwhelm and distraction. You'll notice that in doing that process, you move further and further away from the plan or creating a plan, as you're in this sort of like urgency to get a structure or a plan. And you can simplify this. My team is like, trust us, you can use both hemispheres quite efficiently to get a really good plan for yourself. And the way you want to do that is you really want to activate both sides of the brain. So this time, as you're thinking about here's my long-term goal. What am I going to do today to help myself get that? You're actually going to stop. You're not going to pick up a book. You're not going to read. You're not going to pull out a list. You're going to completely stop and focus on getting completely centered first. So no thinking. And that should be easy, right? So now all we have to do is get present with ourselves. So as we sit down, we can focus on our breath. We can do like 3 to 5 minutes of meditating if you want. If you're not a meditator, if you are a meditator, go for your regular meditation. But make the intention to meditate before you plan. Because as you do that, what you're doing is you're helping to cancel out all the noise and hone in and focus on something simple, like your breath first. As we do that, our ability to focus and laser in and get details actually improves. So our ability to concentrate goes up as we calm ourselves and steady ourselves in our situation. So simply by focusing in on your breath and being present, you will be able to more easily touch base with what are 3 things I need to focus on today that will help me move in the direction of my dreams. So you think about those 3 things. These become the 3 priorities of your day, whatever you come up with. Like for me today, was obviously recording these karma cards. It was definitely a priority, as well as doing some personal growth work that I want to do later. I have a couple of classes I'm doing, and I want to continue my classes. So these are the 3 things that I'm going to focus in on, and they get to be the priority, which means everything else has to get pushed out of the way. Now, before I sat down and meditated, I was all over the place. I had my 3 things written down that I was going to do today, and then I went and did some cleaning because, I noticed this needs to get taken care of, and I need to write this list over here, and we get distracted, and that happens. But when you think about your goal, sit down to meditate, focus and get present, identify your 3 things, and then pick the one that you're going to do next. You go right into action. Now you've got a very clear path, a very aligned action, and this is going to help you create the traction you're seeking in your life. So the methodology is simple. What do you want? Center yourself, quiet your mind. Think about 3 things today that would help you get closer. Make the commitment to do one of those as soon as you're done meditating. Give it a try. See how it goes. Now you can still write these down. I'm a huge fan of planning. You need to write it down. At least I need to write it down because it helps keep me accountable, and I love the little dopamine hit I get from checking something off that I did it. So you can still engage in that way, but when you're approaching it with this, you're going to bypass all the overthinking that can happen, especially if you're a creative type trying to get into your analytical mind. Usually when we go over there, there's a lot of thoughts that are waiting to process that we're noticing. It's the problem solver part. So if there are things in our environment or in our life that seem like they need attention, like a kitchen that needs cleaning or kids who need help with homework, right? You get just easily pulled into all these different directions. But by honing in, getting clear, and calming the mind before you attempt to be productive, you're going to have a higher productivity rate and higher efficiency because of it. Now with that, let's see what the karma cards are telling us this week. If you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with your beautiful intuition and feel what is the guidance you're looking for this week. Are you looking for action related guidance, or are you looking to see how things resolve? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, this reading is for January 10th through the 17th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Saturn, which is what we've been talking about. This is, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. There's a lot of Saturnian energy happening right now, especially tomorrow, as Saturn is the co-ruler of the Capricorn new moon. in the sign of Leo, which is, it's one of the sort of boss signs. Capricorn is the boss, but Leo is the leader. So we have a lot of this leadership energy coming through in the sign of, or in the house rather, of the self. Again, we had that last week. So this is very much focused on what we are putting out there, what we're trying to express about ourselves, who we see ourselves as, and what we want to be seen as. Right? If you are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to be realistic about leadership immediately. Well, immediately makes sense. This is the window it's happening in. They really want us to take advantage of this energy because it's the most advantageous for getting your plan in place. This is the time. You want to take the most out of 2024. You want to utilize that beautiful karmic return energy to your advantage. Have a plan to do it. So that speaks to the immediacy. Be realistic about leadership. I think sometimes we can idealize leadership and we sort of see the perks of leadership, but we rarely focus on how we get there. And how we get there is obviously a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of personal sacrifice gets you to the top of whatever you're trying to do. So you need to really consider that even though this year promises big rewards, it also says you've got to work for it. What you're putting in, you will get the equivalent out. So the more you're putting in, the more you're going to get out. That doesn't mean you have to exhaust yourself or hustle, but it does mean you have to really put the quality of time in to see the return you're looking for. So they're trying to set you up with this expectation that, work smarter, not necessarily harder, but also show up and work at it regularly, because the more you do that, the more consistent the return will be for you. Mental action at this time. Be concerned about the creativeness of the way you project yourself. So just like last week, we're still focusing on what we're putting out there energetically as well. And so I think what it's talking about here is really getting that alignment right. So, don't just be creatively expressing look, you can do what you want, obviously, but they're saying it's not most advantageous for you to just be creative in your expression, like have intent behind how you're expressing, because again, what you're putting out in the world is mostly being reflected back to you. Your reflection comes back to you. Some other people might reflect information to you about you, but mostly your subconscious mind is taking in the cues that you have. So it's like, part of what you're putting out there is how you're showing up to it. And that's a big key to the energy that you're putting out. Even if you think it doesn't mean anything, it does mean something. And apparently this is something they really want us to get right now. It's the, whole show up for the life that you want, right? If you want a life that is enriching and feels good and in alignment to yourself, that you're going to need to think about what are those values that you're holding that you want to project and show. You're going to need to think about how you're presenting it to the world, and if you're looking at yourself and you're like, God, that's not how I feel about myself. I put that out there, but I don't really feel that way. Then you have the power to create the change and the alignment that you seek. Physical action at this time, you must wait before you can do what you want to and do it on your own. So it's not a time of, again, implementing. It's a time of planning. So this just says to me, you got to develop your strategy first. What does it look like to be in that place that you see it for yourself in the long term? Where do you see yourself long term, right? If you see yourself as like a leader and you're not there yet, what do you have to show up as to be seen as a leader, to take yourself seriously as a leader, and then have others take you seriously as an example? All right, now let's look at outcomes with Saturn in Leo in the first house of self-expression. Spiritual outcome at this time, the maturity that brings self-confidence to create who you are. Well, that is definitely worth it when we stop and think about how we're presenting ourselves, and specifically to ourselves. I know that in this world, we tend to get caught up on how other people see us, and that we're trying to maybe present an image that we think will be the most acceptable. But really, right now, this is about authentically aligning to your future self. And if you take a minute and connect with that version of you, wherever they are, they're where you want to be. Now look at how they're presenting themselves. How are they showing up? Is it the same or is it different? And if it's different, what's noticeably different about how they're showing up? Because that's key information that's going to help you know what you need to strategize right now, what you need to focus on building and growing about yourself. It might be that they look healthier than you currently feel. Then we need to think about, this is a great time to talk to them and say, what are you doing? And you definitely can do this, by the way. You can have conversations with your future self. You just imagine getting a chance to sit down and talk to them and ask them, okay, what is it you're doing right now that I'm not doing? And you'll get plenty of information about how you should be moving forward to align to your future goal and your future reality. But the beautiful thing is, it looks like if you engage with this process and you're really starting to take that in and go, okay, my subconscious is picking up cues from me. For example, here's a small one, but it made such a huge difference for me. I work from home predominantly, and I remember when I really started getting into working from home, I had a lot of admin work to do, a lot of alone time on my computer, and I would just get up in the morning and start going into it. I didn't change into day clothes. I wore my pajamas, and at first it felt really fun. I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm so comfy. I'm so relaxed. I get to do my work in my pajamas, and isn't this great? And there is, from time to time, that feels really good, but what happens to you subconsciously when you do that is you create confusion, and you actually can create some mental brain fog you don't have to do, because pajamas are a subconscious cue to relax, right? So when you're wearing your pajamas, and ideally what's happening is you're slowing down, you're winding down, you're relaxed, you're not focused on work. So when you add work to relaxation, you're crossing wires. And your own subconscious is like, I don't know what to focus on here. Do I focus on the fact that I'm relaxing, or do I focus on the fact that I'm working? And you find that simply by getting dressed before you start work, even if you work from home, will give you a higher level of efficiency and mental clarity, because you're not sending a mixed signal to yourself. And I caught that years ago, that I was doing that, consistently sending mixed signals to myself, right? I'd have my workout clothes on to inspire myself to work out, but then I'd be going grocery shopping, right? And sometimes before I got to the workout, and it got very confusing. My subconscious was like, again, what am I supposed to focus on here? You're not giving me a clear direction, because you're setting up all of these complications for subconscious cues. And so as we get clearer on that, we're going to make life easier on ourselves, and we're going to become more efficient, because we're being clearer about what we're projecting specifically to ourselves. Mental outcome at this time: caution regarding taking a chance on your desires. Again, they're hitting us hard with, this is not a time into jumping into action. It's actually about the plan. So the more we can think about the plan, the better we are going to be able to execute. Now, this might be, for some of us out there, the most boring part. Like, I don't want to sit down and think about doing it. I just want to do it. And I hear you, because that's definitely closer to my personality. However, I've had a more successful track record by sitting down and thinking about what I want to do, because it cuts out a lot of, when you're the kind of person who's just fly by the seat of your pants, just do what comes to you organically, yeah, you get things done, but you also spend a lot of time doing unnecessary tasks or focusing on unnecessary things to try and get to the same result. When you stop and think about it, and you get really clear on what are the most important tasks I need to complete, or what, in regards to what I'm trying to express here, is the most important for me to express, then we cut out a lot of time wasted, and we get right to, it's almost like you get to jump ahead, right? It's like you're in the express lane now, and now things move quicker because you gave yourself the plan of how you're going to enact or implement your goal. So again, not a big jumping into action time, but a huge time for plans. Physical outcome at this time, limits imposed resulting from the impressiveness of your actions. All right, so you might want to just, what I'm getting from this is they're like, balance your brain around this. So you're going to be making all these plans, and you might feel like, okay, I've made these plans and now I'm going to execute, and so many things are going to happen because I stopped to think about it first, and then when I went to execute, I executed on my plan. So big return, right? They're saying not yet. You have a whole year. There's a lot of stuff that's going to go on, and this year offers us 4 Mercury retrograde. So there is a lot of actually redoing or reconsidering that's going to be happening in 2024. And the first one, I believe, comes up in April. So, this year promises big rewards, but again, there's more work, and just because you do a little work doesn't mean it's going to fast forward super fast. You are going to cut off the excess. You're going to narrow the time you spend down to a nice lean program, but it's still going to be work to implement, and it's still going to take its time to process as you put it out in the world. So if you're someone who's like, okay, I'm going to do this work because there's a big reward coming, and you're expecting that to come fast, you got to remember, Saturn's highly involved in it. Saturn is slow. It's a slow planet. It can really bum some of you fast movers out there. If you have Mercury as your ruling planet or a sub-ruling planet for you, it's going to take a while. Mercury people move really fast, right? You guys, we're clip, clip, clip. You go fast. And it can feel like you're sort of like Dash from The Incredibles, the little boy who can run really fast. It's like everyone's moving slower than you, and it might feel like I'm implementing and I'm getting it done, and I'm not seeing that return. Hang out in there. The return is coming, and usually with Saturn, the longer it takes, the better the reward. So just remind yourself of that when you get impatient. The longer it takes, the better the reward. And you deserve a great reward. So just remind yourself of that. Yes, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yes, it's moving slowly, but you keep going. Do not let it slow you down, because the longer it takes, the better the reward. I'm sending you guys so much love this week. I hope that you have a fantastic week. If you're liking these videos, please like, share, and subscribe to help my channel. And of course, I will see you at the next Karma Cards. Mwah.